When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined at segment number 2 by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. We're going to be chatting with him about what we've seen the last few weeks in baseball. We're going to talk about some of the teams that he's feeling bullish/bearish on, and we're going to be taking a look at the games that we've got for Friday. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. With EdgeBoost, they make sure that 100% of gambling transactions are approved. And when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Thursday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Well, your top under team in all of baseball is the Cincinnati Reds, and they did their part in remaining the top under team. 42 overs, 47 unders, and now 7 pushes as they fall to the Pittsburgh Pirates without scoring a single run. 7-0 is the final in this one, as for Paul Skeens, he was able to get another win, so he's out 7-8. Yay, verily there, as he pitched quite well. 6 scoreless innings out of him with 8 strikeouts. From there, you were able to have Ryan Barucki, Kyle Nicholas, and then as well Cam Sanders all come in, land a scoreless inning. And for the Cincinnati Reds, this was not Brady Singer's finest performance. He was singing the blues, giving up 4 runs in 3 2/3 innings, including a home run. He gave that one up to Brian Reynolds' 11th home run season, then Henry Davis' 5th home run season. That comes out for Brent Suter, who gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in his inning work. Sam Moll, Luis May, they both go 2/3 of an inning scoreless, and Yovan Suleta was able to give you 2 innings out of the bullpen scoreless, and for the Reds, they go 0-5 with men in scoring position. Nothing doing for the Washington Nationals, as half the games on this Thursday involved a shutout, 6-0. The Yankees are able to shut down the Washington Nationals, as for the Nats, this was not what they were hoping for out of Mitchell Parker. 4 runs allowed in 5 innings, including a home run given up to Colby Thomas, his first home run of the campaign, and then Tyler Soderstrom. A little bit later on, he would get his 21st home run of the campaign that comes off of PJ Pauline, who gives up that home run in 2 outside the bullpen scoreless. Clayton Beater, along with Orlando Revolta, Jackson Rutledge, they were all able to come in and gave you a scoreless inning apiece, with Rutledge 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Jacob Lopez, 10 strikeouts, 7 2/3 innings scoreless. Justin Sterner from there, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. For the Seattle Mariners, it took 11 innings, but they find a way to persevere and get the job done against the Chicago White Sox. This by a count of 4-3 was very nearly a bad beat on under 7.5 if you were sweating that one out, as these two teams want to combine 2 of 28 with men in scoring position. Logan Gilbert wasn't overly long for this game, neither was Shane Smith. Smith gives up 2 runs in 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep off of him, Randy Arozarena, 23rd home run of the campaign, and Logan Gilbert gives up a solo home run in his 5 innings of work, 1 to Michael A. Taylor, his 7th home run season. And then you had Mr. Brooks Baldwin get his 6th home run season. That comes off of Carlos Vargas, who gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Yeah, Caleb Ferguson and Gabe Spire both give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And then Matt Brash, Andres Munoz scoreless 8th and 9th innings before Edward Bizardo unearned run given up in the 10th inning. Scoreless 11 from Jackson Coward to be able to get it done. And for Brandon Iser, gives up the unearned run in the 11th inning that walks it off. As for Seattle, Dom Canzone was able to have an RBI single. And the bullpen was solid. Tyler Gilbert gives up an unearned run in his inning work, but Steve Wilson, Grant Taylor, they both led a scoreless inning. Jordan Leisure and Brian Hudson, they were able to combine for 2 scoreless innings. And then you also had a nice performance from the Atlanta Braves. They are now only 18 games below 500. They get the job done against the Miami Marlins. This by a count of 8-6, as this was not the performance that Miami was hoping for out of Yuri Perez. 3 bombs given up, 5 1/3 innings, allows 5 runs, as it was Drake Baldwin, his 12th and 13th home runs of the season. And right now the betting odds favorite to win National League Rookie of the Year, Marcell Ozuna, 16th home run season. You did have Grant Pauly get his 3rd home run season. That comes off of Carlos Cookie Carrasco. He goes 5 2/3 innings. He allows 6 runs, but bullpen at his back. Dylan Lee, Rossio Iglesias, Pierce Johnson all ended scoreless inning, and the Doddfather, Dylan Dodd, and out of the bullpen scoreless for the Miami Marlins. Cade Gibson allows a run in an inning. Anthony Bender, 2/3 of an inning scoreless. Ronnie Enriquez, 2/3 of an inning scoreless as well. And then for Josh Simpson, he comes into the game, he allows a run, and there were inherited runners that caused this game to go a little bit haywire on this one as well. So for the Miami Marlins, they are unable to get it done, but what is getting it done right now in the last 7 days has been a lot of overplay in baseball, despite the fact that you saw 2 shutouts in baseball on Thursday. If you look at the last 7 days, 50 overs at 37 under, so 57% hit rate to the over. Meanwhile, favorites, they're hitting at about 55% over the last 7 days, 50 and 41 on the money line. Meanwhile, if you take a look at the season to date, favorites are hitting at about 56.8%, 970 and 738 on the money line. Meanwhile, for the under, it's hitting at 51.9% this year, 856 unders to 794 overs. So that's where we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do talk with our good friend William Boor of Action Network, take a look at the landscape of baseball and some of the games that we've got for Friday right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VEASAN Family Podcast.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VEASAN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He does such a tremendous job over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. I know that he does a little bit of everything over there at Action Network. They're getting geared up for what is going to be an amazing football season, and we do have preseason football in our lives. I know that additionally he's doing an incredible job as well with regards to just taking a look at what we're getting in the futures market in so many of these sports as well. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the letter W, his last name Boor, Boor, all together. And William, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on. Like you said, we're approaching that busy time. Football coming up, but also we've got the stretch run of baseball, which is always exciting.
Absolutely it is. And just how do you take a look at the races that we've currently got in Major League Baseball? Because I know that we talked about this last week, but I think that it's worth reiterating. Just feels like the most open year in baseball that I have seen in such a long time.
Yeah, I'm with you. Coming into the year, it was obviously Dodgers. They're still very good. They're still, going to make the playoffs. They're in first place in their division, but there's a few more cracks there in that team than we maybe initially foresaw. They also don't have the best record in baseball, so they certainly don't look unbeatable the way it was presented in the preseason. I mean, that NL West race, they're only 2 games up on the Padres. You've got a really intriguing race in the NL East. That's also 2.5 as we're recording. The AL West is 2 games separating. 3 divisions all within 2 games is going to make for an incredibly exciting August and September.
Oh, it certainly is. Both leagues, the National League and the American League, just feel so wide open right now. So I'm very much looking forward to what we're going to be getting out there. And I'm very much looking forward to just taking a look at these wild card races, because I do think that it's getting hot and heavy out there in the American League with the way that the Cleveland Guardians have been able to heat up a little bit. Obviously, the Seattle Mariners are pretty good contenders, because it just doesn't feel like anyone's going to be able to catch the Houston Astros, even though they feel a little bit like a paper tiger, though, as we're recording this, only 2 games up. So they have fallen back a little bit as well. And I mean, it's been just a really interesting race in general with regards to the wild card. And I think that this is going to be one of the best watches for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Specifically on the AL, we've got also the Yankees kind of slipping and falling there. Judge is now back, so that helps them a little bit. Maybe that can help stabilize them. But that race is really intriguing. You've got, obviously, like you said, the Mariners were aggressive at the deadline. They went out and got pieces, and now that's paying off. That's super exciting. As a fan, you love when team's aggressive for one, and then you also love when it pays off. You've got Boston, who went out and traded Rafael Devers, and now all of a sudden has won 8 of his past 10 games. I'm not sure if that's a formula to success moving forward, is, sell off your best player and then get hot, but it's working right now, and it's certainly making the AL East exciting, and it's making the AL wildcard race really exciting.
Yep, it certainly is, and it's going to be so interesting to be taking a look at what we're going to be getting in terms of that wild card race, and we are going to be having some really good matchups that are going to be going down for Friday, as I think that this one is a fun one between the Astros and the New York Yankees. Cam Schlittler against Hunter Brown, with the Astros right around about a -130 favorite. Total on this game is 8. 2 teams very much in the thick of it with regards to the playoff race. How do you take a look at this one with the guy in Hunter Brown, who started out the year so hot but has been really slipping a little bit over the last few weeks?
Well, he has, but he might have been able to turn a corner. I like the Astros in this one, actually. I was taking a peek at your numbers. I think you have the Yankees slightly favored, but Hunter Brown's past 2 starts against the A's, so not the best team in the world, but also a tough ballpark to pitch in. 1 run over 5 innings in his last start, and then his most recent start at home against the Red Sox, 1 run over 7 innings, and that's no Devers, but that is a Red Sox team over the past, couple weeks that's been playing really well. So you're right, in, June, July, he really started to slip. I'm hoping those 2 starts, obviously 2 is not a massive sample size in anything, especially when it comes to baseball, but I'm hoping we're starting to see him turn it back around, and I'm going to bank on that, and I'll be on the Astros tomorrow.
Yep, and with Hunter Brown, he has been able to do a really good job in terms of keeping things out in front of him, not allowing a lot of home runs or walks. So that's always something that you like to see from a star-studded pitcher like that. And when it comes to this game, I think that it's a lot of fun to look at Rays versus the Seattle Mariners as well, because the Rays, they always give you a good effort. I don't think that they're going to be able to make the postseason, but you know that they're always going to be pesky, with it being Drew Rasmussen against Luis Castillo. Right now, that total is 7.5, and with Seattle, they're about a -123 to a -135 favorite. How do you take a look at this one? Because I've really liked betting on Drew Rasmussen, and Luis Castillo has some pretty demonstrative home and road splits.
Yeah, the Rays are a team that you just know, like you said, good effort. They're not going to beat themselves. Always well coached. They always seem to be in a good spot. And I think that over 162 game sample, obviously it usually plays out in the Rays' favor. This year is a little worse than most, but they're usually always a good team. The other time when playing good fundamental baseball works out well is low scoring games. We know runs in Seattle often come at a premium. Seattle is good. It's good offense, but you're right. I really do like backing Drew Rasmussen in general. He's been throwing the ball well all year. I think this could be a good spot for the Rays, or at least maybe a good spot to just kind of step away if you're inclined to kind of keep betting Seattle's surge.
Yep, absolutely. And for Seattle, it's been interesting with regards to home and road splits as well, because they do play in one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. So that offense does take a little bit more of a dive there, as we do have William Boor. He does such a tremendous job over at Action Network, and he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then on more of the National League side of things, the Cincinnati Reds have just been a pesky team, and right now they're an underdog to the Pittsburgh Pirates, with it being Chase Burns against Mitch Keller. Now, for Burns, his last start was only one inning, so hard to take too much out of that, but feels like he's starting to put it together a little bit more, because excluding that one inning start, 3 runs for fewer allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and being able to get the Reds as an underdog against a Pirates team that just hasn't scored all year long is something that's calling my name.
When I get plus money against the Pirates, that's almost an auto bet, like right there, regardless. But the fact that it's the Reds are just fun. This is an exciting offense. Like you said, I don't put any stock into a one inning start. The Reds have been really impressive this year. They've played well this year. They're exciting. They're a young, fun team. I do like the Reds in this spot. Mitch Keller, I think, is better than maybe the record and some of the numbers indicate. And it's just a product of being stuck on the Pirates in that environment. But this is a hitter-friendly park. This is a Reds offense that can explode at times. I wouldn't be shocked if they put up a big number in the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that this is going to be one of the more interesting matchups out there, because seeing the Reds as an underdog is a little bit strange. And how do you take a look at more of those National League teams that are fighting for playoff spots? Because at this point, it feels like the Brewers and the Cubs are going to be in there in some form or capacity. That's going to be a great divisional race. But I mean, there still is quite a bit up for grabs with regards to those National League wildcard spots. And this team is not going to make the playoffs, but the Miami Marlins have come on as a very interesting spoiler recently.
Agreed. Miami Marlins are a team that, like, they're one game over 500. Put it this way, they have a better record than the Braves. If I had told you that at spring training, last December, February, March, any month, you would have not believed me, or you would have assumed that we were in the first week of the season and they happened to be 5-4 and the Braves were 4-5 or something like that. The fact that the Marlins have a better record than the Braves in early August is insane. And if you look at the Marlins over the past, 25, 30 games, they're one of the better teams in baseball. This is a team that, like, this weekend they're playing the Braves, so it's fine, 2 non-contenders. The Marlins are going to mess something up in the NL East or the NL wildcard race over the last few weeks of the season for sure. They're going to sweep someone, they're going to take 3 or 4 from someone, and they're really going to damper someone's season.
Yep, they certainly are, and it's been a lot of fun to watch them, as they have been a really good rotating team. Even though they don't hit a lot of home runs, they've been able to do a nice job of being able to deliver the power ball, so that has been really nice to be able to see from them. And then I think that this one is going to be a pretty fun one, as we've got ourselves the Toronto Blue Jays and the LA Dodgers. Max Scherzer obviously used to pitch for the LA Dodgers, so facing off against his old team, and these 2 guys aren't what they once were, as it's Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw, and still Max Scherzer versus Clayton Kershaw, total of 9, and the Dodgers are minus 155 favorites, which I know that the Blue Jays have been a little bit hit or miss away from home, but I just can't get with putting Clayton Kershaw as this big of a favorite at this point in his career.
I'm with you. I don't like laying 150 either with Kershaw or against the Dodgers offense. I know it hasn't necessarily been the best lately, but there's definitely some names in there that make you worry that they can pop. And kind of as you mentioned at the top, like, this is not Scherzer versus Kershaw of 2016 or anything like that. These are big name pitchers, not necessarily big time performers at this stage in their career. To me, both these offenses have potential to go off. Toronto, yes, they were in Colorado, so, take that for what it's worth, but they are swinging really hot bats. To me, don't want to play a side on this, and to me, this is an over or pass.
Yep, and I do think that this one is going to be a fun one as well, because with those 2 aging pitchers, certainly you can get a lot of runs given up by them. Max Scherzer's been giving up the deep on. Clayton Kershaw honestly hasn't given up a lot of homers, but he just is not getting the strikeouts that he did at this point in his career as well. So that one's going to be interesting, and I would say that this might actually be the pitching matchup of the night. Merrill Kelly against Christopher Sanchez out there in the lovely state of Texas. Right now, the Rangers are an underdog of about plus 108 to a plus 113, and that total is between about 125, minus 130, or the total is a 7.5, with the Phillies more like a minus 125, minus 130. How do you take a look at this spot with a guy in Christopher Sanchez who has been so dominant this year, and Merrill Kelly, he was rock solid with the years on the Diamondbacks, and I think that he's going to be able to pitch very well out there in Texas too.
Love Merrill Kelly. really good pitcher this year, kind of up and down. I get why the Rangers went out and got him. They had to do that. That being said, love this Phillies team. Love Christopher Sanchez, 8 scoreless innings in his last start, 1 earned run or fewer in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his past 8 starts. I mean, he's throwing the ball really well. The Phillies can hit up and down that lineup. I just like the Phillies. I'm going to like them in pretty much every game the rest of the way. Obviously, they're not going to win every game. You pick your spots and you bet based on price. But here, we're getting good price on them. We're getting a really solid starting pitcher. I definitely like Philadelphia in this spot on Friday.
Yep, absolutely. And with Christopher Sanchez, he's been able to do such a good job. And with the Texas Rangers, they have been able to surge with their offense, but has been a little bit hit or miss on that front as well, even over the last few weeks for them. And then I take a look at this matchup, and I always like to be able to see things like this, as we've got Seth Lugo against Joe Ryan. Right now with the Kansas City Royals, they're about a plus 112 to a plus 120 underdog, with Joe Ryan a little bit more of a strikeout guy, Seth Lugo a little bit more of a pitcher contact guy. But as we know, the Twins had a pretty massive sell-off at the deadline. How do you take a look at this spot with being a guy in Joe Ryan who has been so reliable but doesn't have much around him anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes I'm not sure what to do with this game, to be honest with you. So I'll probably pass. Most games involving the Twins, you're probably on the other side because of what they did at the trade deadline. They got rid of their team, and now they're rolling out basically a AAA team. The issue is Joe Ryan's still really good. It's kind of the same issue we run into every 5 days when Paul Skeens pitches for the Pirates. To me, maybe this is maybe an under. This is maybe if you want to go quick, this is maybe a good no-run first inning spot. I know a lot of people love betting those. Those are definitely fun. As far as the game, I don't necessarily want to bet on the Royals mashing Joe Ryan. That seems like a tough spot, but I also don't want to bet on the Twins winning when they don't have anyone in their lineup ever selling everything off. So to me, this game is an under. It's a no-run first inning if you just kind of want to get cute and have fun. Otherwise, it's just a pass because the Twins are in such a weird spot.
Yeah, the Twins are very much in a weird spot, and for Minnesota, it's just a case where you've got Byron Buxton, and Royce Wilson's coming off the injury list, has looked a little bit better, but I mean, past that, it's very, very much a bare-bones team. And is there anything else that you're going to be taking a look at for Fridays? We've got all 30 teams in action, very much unlike what we had on Thursday, and I do think that it's going to be a very interesting spot for a lot of these teams.
We hit a lot of the good ones, but the other game, I'm not sure if I'm going to have a play on it yet, haven't seen the numbers, but the other one definitely worth watching that I'm surprised you didn't mention is the Mets and the Brewers with Senga and Woodruff. That's just intriguing. 2 teams that are obviously fighting for playoff spots. Not sure if I'm going to have a play or not, but that's definitely a game that going to check the score and going to kind of keep up with it. Not only that game, but probably that whole series as well.
Yeah, that series is going to be an interesting one, and with the Brewers, it has been a case where they have been able to do such an amazing job on the road, and their home and road splits, in terms of their offense, they just still so much puzzle me. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting total of 8 on that one as well, and I know that you, William, are doing such an amazing job taking a look at this great game of baseball. You're locked into a little bit of everything, so let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Of course, follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR. If you just want my betting picks, they're all in the Action Network app at William Boor _. Make sure to check out our app, check out our website, actionnetwork.com. We've got betting picks for every single baseball game every day, every WNBA game. We've got NFL preseason up right now. And obviously, we're going to start rolling out NFL futures, NFL week 1 stuff. We're working our way through college football conference by conference previews as well. So busy season coming up, a ton of great content to hopefully make everyone's wallets a little bit bigger come football season.
Absolutely. William has been doing such an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, and every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. So big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now a part of the Beast and Family podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by William Boor. He does such a great job over at Action Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board? It is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They walk the plank on the road to face off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller goes for the Buccos, and Chase Burns is on the bump for the Reds. The Reds do find themselves as an underdog of even money to -105, -108 to -115. That number on the Pirates with a total of 8. Over and under both at -110. I did set my total at 7.8, so I'm going to be in on this under. For Chase Burns, it's been a rough season if you take a look at the ERA, but the strikeout numbers are there. He's getting over 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. He has slowly been able to get better. 3 runs or fewer allowed in 3 of his last 4 actual starts. I say actual starts because his last start against the Atlanta Braves, that was a suspended game. He went 1 inning. We're not really going to count that. But, I mean, overall for the season, a 6.04 ERA, but at 290 fielding independent. He does give up way too many walks. He's over 4 walks per 9 innings, but really like his upside, especially against a Pittsburgh Pirates team that is presently dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, averaging right around about 3.5 to 3.6 runs per contest. That shoots up a little bit closer to 3.9 at home, but you just still don't have really any power in this lineup, as right now you've got 3 guys on the roster with over 5 home runs this season. O'Neill Cruz, Brian Reynolds, and also Andrew McCutchen, and just a cavalcade of different guys that aren't hitting for average. Henry Davis, Jared Trollo, Jack Swiniski, Alexander Canario, Cruz, who I mentioned before, all hitting below a 215 right now. And for the Cincinnati Reds, yeah, it's not an amazing lineup, but Ellie De La Cruz continues to do a nice job getting on base, 20 plus home bases, 355 on base, 19 home runs. Additionally, TJ Friedel has been able to give you 375 on base. Gavin Lux more like a 355 on base. And for Austin Hayes, he's been nice ever since coming off the injury list. He and Neovalli Marte, who have been dealing with injuries throughout the season, both in between about a 260 to 265. The Pirates, despite trading away David Bednar, do not have the world's worst bullpen, as you've been able to have quite a few guys step up, give the team a sub-325 ERA. Braxton Ashcraft has been one of your main long guys for the team. Dennis Santana, you've had good performances as well out of Isaac Madsen as well, so they've been able to do a pretty rock-solid job. Yohan Ramirez posting up more like a 4 ERA, but he still hasn't been too bad. And for the Cincinnati Reds, this has been about a league average bullpen all season long. Emilio Pagan gives up a few too many deep balls, but I mean, he's been able to keep a sub-3 ERA. Tony Santillan has been rock solid. Brent Suter is a good long guy for this team, and I do think that for the Reds, they should do an okay job of being able to get to Mitch Keller here. Mitch Keller has been able to post up a relatively low ERA, but his swing and miss stuff is way down. For Mitch Keller, he's getting fewer than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, a career low for him, but for Mitch Keller, he's also been able to do a nice job with regards to command and not giving up a lot of walks, as for Keller, he does give up 2.3 walks per 9 innings, and for his career, he posts up an ERA about a point lower at home rather than on the road, 3.89 ERA overall this season, but still giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. And for Keller, he has given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so a few of those runs were unearned. But that said, with the Reds, I did make them the favorite at -108. I like them on the money line and on the under semi-total 7.8. 903, 904 on the card. The Miami Marlins are on the road against the Atlanta Braves. Bryce Elder hopes an outlook Elder Lee for the Braves, and Edward Cabrera is on the bump for the Marlins. And the Marlins find themselves as slim favorites here of anywhere between -114 to a -119, between even money to plus 105. That number on Atlanta. 8 is the total. The under is minus 105, and the over is minus 105. Seeing some 8.5s popping up. The 8.5 under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I did my total at an 8.8. I'm going to be in on this over, as for Edward Cabrera, he's been able to do a really nice job in terms of just keeping things out in front of him, not giving up the home run ball like he has in past year, only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, about 3 walks per 9 innings, but that's much improved from where he was the last few years. He's getting over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he's really been able to put it together, and Bryce Elder has put together, well, a turd of a season, as he has given up 29 runs, 28 of which have been earned in his last 6 starts, overall rocking a 6.03 ERA, 5.14 fielding dependent with 3.5 walks, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and for the Atlanta Braves, since the beginning of the month of June, this has been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. This is despite the fact that you've had a few guys be able to do a relatively okay job with this bullpen, as you've been able to get a sub 3.50 ERA out of Dylan Lee. You've had good performances out of Desmond Hernandez, Pierce Johnson as well. They're both below 250, so I mean, these guys have been pretty solid, but I mean, Raciel Iglesias has been a massive issue for this team, over a 4.5 ERA. They had to let go of Enyel de los Santos because he was not getting the job done, and for the Braves, they're just not getting the job done at the plate. Bottom 10 team in terms of runs per game. You do have Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, Sean Murphy, all give you between 14 to 16 home runs thus far this season. Ron Acuna Jr. being out of the fold hurts his team, but Matt Olson, 18 bombs to lead the way, about a 360 on base. Marcell Ozuna closer to about a 365 on base, but the problem has been Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris. Both of these guys hitting at 236 or lower. For Harris, he's up to 10 home runs, but at 259 on base. Nick Allen has 0 home runs. He's hitting at 228. Eli White has been hitting about a 250, but not a lot of on base. Only 7 home runs out of him as well. So you've had a lot of problems for this team. And for the Miami Marlins, this is actually a top 6 team in terms of runs per game away from them. This is despite the fact that they're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, mainly because Miami's just so pitcher friendly. But I mean, for Kyle Sowers, 25 home runs, 370 on base. He has been the headliner for this team. And then Augustin Ramirez, he's up to 17 bombs. He's hitting about a 245. Not a lot of on base, but that's why you've got the likes of Xavier Edwards, who's been at the leadoff spot, giving you darn near a 300 average. Liam Hicks has been up to about a 350 on base. So I like the way that this Miami Marlins team is structured, and they're a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA since the beginning of the month of June, as these guys have really been able to come along for the ride. Kay Gibson, Lake Picard, Tyler Phillips, Ronnie Enriquez, whole bunch of guys give you a sub 325 ERA. So did set the Marlins at a minus 125. I like their money line, and here at the 8 to 8.5, like the over semi total at an 8.8. 9-5, 9-6 on the card. The New York Mets are on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers, as Brandon Woodruff is on the bump for the Crew, and Kodai Senga goes for the Mets. The Mets, who find themselves as between a plus 104 to plus 113 dogs, minus 123 to a minus 127. That number on the Crew. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. The under is minus 120. The over is even on the 7.5. The over is minus 120. Under is even. Did semi-total at 7.6. Personally, I would rather take the 8 under rather than the 7.5 over, because the Brewers just have such funky home and road splits in terms of their offense. They are currently leading the league by a country mile in terms of runs per game away from home at over 5.7 runs per game away from home, 4.2 runs per game at home. And I'm a Brewers fan, grew up one. I can tell you that American Family Field, still known as Miller Park to me, it's not necessarily a hitter's environment, it's not necessarily a pitcher's environment. It should be relatively neutral, but what is up and neutral is the way that Brandon Woodruff is right now, blowing guys away in his 5 starts, 2.22 ERA, 11.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, is giving up about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, but does get to face off against a New York Mets lineup that the best way to call it is top heavy, as your top 4 guys are a quartet that have been able to all give the team at least 19 home runs this year. Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, 25 plus home runs, with Soto give you about a 382 on base. Francisco Lindor is up to hitting about a 250. He's been able to 21 home runs, and then Brandon Nimmo has been stuck at 19 home runs for quite a while, but move lining at 255. Then you've got the likes of Tyrone Taylor, the entire catcher spot, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, all below at 230. Beatty's up to 11 home runs, but you just haven't been able to get a lot there. And for the Mets, since the beginning of the month of June, this is a bunch that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, they do pick up Ryan Helsley to be able to fortify things. Gregory Soto is not too much of an addition for me, but you've also been able to have Reed Garrett, Chris Savinsky come in there, give you a sub-3 ERA, and obviously Edwin Diaz has been rock solid. But also for the Milwaukee Brewers, this has been a bullpen that has really been able to put it together since a rough beginning part of the season. For the Milwaukee Brewers, if you look since June 1st, this team is number 6 in terms of bullpen ERA, likes of Abner Uribe, Aaron Ashby, throw in there Nick Mears. These guys have all been able to give you a sub-325 ERA, so I've been loving what they have been doing. And for this Milwaukee Brewers lineup, you've been able to get a lot of production out of just just being able to move the line and getting on base for so many of these guys. As Christian Yelich is that main home run guy, 21 bombs, but with Jackson Chourio and Rhys Hoskins dealing with injuries, he is the only guy in that roster right now that is giving you a double-figure amount of homers that is actually healthy, but just a lot of guys that are posting up a on-base percentage that is above a 325. Blake Perkins, Yelich, Bryce Terang, William Contreras, Al Frelick, Caleb Durbin, they're all doing a solid job there. And for Kodai Senga, it's a case where he just gives up too many walks. He has been giving up darn near 4 walks per 9 innings this season, and his strikeout stuff has been down from where it was in his last fully healthy season in 2023. 8.6 strikeouts, 4.4 walks per 9 innings, 231 ERA, but at 389 fielding dependent. He has now given up at least 3 runs in each out of his last 3 starts, so do you think that the Brewers get the job done here? Set them at a minus 138, like that Brewers money line in on the 800, semi-total is 7.6, 907, 908 on the betting board. The Chicago Cubs are on the road facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals, as you've got Mr. Michael McGreevy on the bump for St. Louis, and Matthew Boyd goes for the Cubs. The Cubs are a favorite of anywhere between minus 142 to a minus 156, plus 128 to a plus 132. That number on St. Louis, 8.5 is a total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And when it comes down to it, I'm going to be taking a look at the St. Louis Cardinals as long as I can get a plus 137 or higher. Right now, we are seeing more in that neighborhood of a plus 134 if you're looking to lay run half with the Chicago Cubs. You're only going to be finding that right around about a plus 110. I was going to be needing more like a plus 126, so even if I'm getting a run half at like a minus 125 on the Cardinals, I'd be looking there. So in some form or capacity, I will be taking a look at the Cardinals, whether that be money line or run line. And this is not to knock Matthew Boyd. Matthew Boyd has actually been one of the better pitchers in the National League this season. For Mr. Boyd, he's been posting up an ERA that is below a 275 for Boyd. He's really done a nice job of just being able to reduce on the walks. That was always such a killer from when he was over at Detroit. 8 strikeouts to 2 walks per 9 innings, giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. So 234 ERA, a 318 fielding dependent, and he has given up approximately 0 runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts. Meanwhile, you've had McGreevy do a nice job of just holding down the fort and keeping things out in front of him, because he's not necessarily going to blow you away with the strikeouts, 5.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but in his 7 total appearances, 0.7 home runs, 1.4 walks allowed per 9 innings, a 5.08 ERA, but a 3.55 fielding dependent. Now, the issue that you do have with McGreevy is that he is obviously pitching to a lot of contact, and you've got a Cubs team that is currently in the top 5 in terms of runs per game. Say Suzuki, Pete Armstrong, 27 home runs apiece. Both of these guys hanging in that realm of about a 250 to 265, but you've got a lot of on base from so many of these guys. Michael Busch is up to 21 bombs with a 350 on base. Kyle Tucker, 18 home runs, 384 on base. Dansby Swanson, not really one of those guys, but he still has 18 home runs. Nico Horner, not necessarily a deep ball hitter, but you know what? He's hitting it for a 290 as well. Carson Kelly, 365 on base. Have a lot of support there. And for the Cubs, we are starting to see a little bit of regression from this bullpen after in May and June it was completely lights up, but so a lot of guys posting up an ERA below a 3.15. Brad Keller, Chris Flexen, Drew Pomeranz, Daniel Palencia. So you've been able to get some good production there. They pick up Taylor Rogers at the trade deadline as well. And then on the other end, you've got a St. Louis Cardinals team that does lose Ryan Helsley in that bullpen, but I mean, it's still rock solid. Jojo Romero, Phil Matone, these guys have all been relatively rock solid. Now, they did trade away Phil Matone as well, so speaking out of turn on that one, but what I meant to say is that Matt Savancin has been able to give you about a 3 ERA. They do have quite a bit of depth with regards to this bullpen. Riley O'Brien has been rock solid. What they don't necessarily have is a lot of deep ball hitters. They have been outside the top 20 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis this season, with Wilson Contreras leading the way, 16 bombs, give you about a 345 on base. And then you do have Alec Burleson up to 14 home runs. He and Brandon Donovan both hitting about a 280, getting back Ivan Herrera, who's been dealing with injuries all season long with 10 bombs, hitting a 300. It's solid. Now, you do have to get a little bit more out of the young guys. These guys like a Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, these guys hitting a 230 or lower. That has been a little bit of an issue for the team, but I do think that McGreevy is going to do a nice job keeping things out in front of him. I do think that the Cardinals are going to be able to get to Boyd in this bullpen a little bit as well. So to sum my total at 8.8, I'm in on the over, and with a plus 138 or higher, we'll be looking at the Cardinals on the money line, minus 125 or better in terms of getting a run half. We would look at getting a run half on that run line. 909, 910 on the card. The Colorado Rockies are on the road facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen looks to fill it up for Arizona, and Austin Gomber hopes to not get Gombered up for Colorado. 309 is the total. Over and under both at -110. And for Arizona, they're between -220 to -240 favorites. In that neighborhood of +190 to a +212 is that number on Colorado. And for Colorado, I set them at a +249 with regards to the money line. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Diamondbacks, that's -115. I was willing to go up to a -130, even though Zach Gallen just has not had a tremendous season. For Zach Gallen, his ERA is above a 5. This is just not the guy that we all know and love, as his walks numbers have just been way up as well. For Mr. Zach Gallen, right now, he is giving up right around about 3.2 walks per 9 innings, 8.5 punch-outs per 9, so he's been down with that regard as well, but I do think that he's starting to hone in a little bit more. Gave up 2 runs at his last start on the road against the Athletics, where it's tough to pitch, and his .464 fielding to paint compared to the .548 ERA does indicate a little bit of positivity there. Meanwhile, for Austin Gomber, well, it just has not been a good season for him. This is not someone that's going to get you a whole bunch of swings and misses, as right now he's at 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 6.18 ERA with 2.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he's given up at least 3 runs, albeit some of them unearned, in each of his last 5 starts. For the Diamondbacks, no question, this is a bit of a gutted lineup because you lose a pair of guys that were just absolutely the heart and soul of it. Josh Naylor with a 350+ on base, and then Eugenio Suarez, the way that he was able to belt out 36 bombs. But so have Geraldo Perdomo give you a 380 on base. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, home run every about 14.5 at-bats. He's been able to give you a 387 on base. Corbin Carroll was rough coming off the injury list, but he's starting to find it as well, hitting about a 250 with 23 home runs. Love to be able to see that. Lourdes Gurriel has continued about a 250 with 14 home runs as well. Now you're going to need to get more out of these mix and match guys like Blaze Alexander, James McCann at the catcher spotting company, but it does feel like they're having some positivity there. What has really been a negative has been the bullpen. They have been in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. With Shelby Miller traded, you pretty much don't have any bullpen pieces on this team that is posting up an ERA below a 4, as you've had Bryce Jarvis, Jalen Beeks, John Curtis with 2 S's, Kyle Bacchus, Juan Murillo, all these guys just not do a great job, but you've also got a Colorado Rockies team that's in the bottom 6 in terms of their bullpen ERA, and they trade away the likes of Jake Bird and company at the deadline, so they are very much gutted as well. Victor Vodnik has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, and you've been able to get some relatively good production out of a guy that I like in Juan Mejia, who's been able to give you about a 4.05 ERA, but when you get down to it, to the likes of Jaden Hill throwing there, as well as Zach Ognos, Ryan Rolson, these guys are just not great. And for the Colorado Rockies, they're only averaging in that neighborhood about 3 runs per contest away from home. That is in the bottom 2 in all of baseball, despite the fact that Hunter Goodman has been very good for this team, hitting about a 280. He's been able to supply the team with 22 home runs as far this season, with over 10 of them coming on the road. So he's been one of the few guys on the team hitting well on the road, as the Colorado Rockies dead last in the big leagues, hitting a 207 on the road with a 266 on base. You do have Michael DeGlia along with Mickey Moniak, both giving you 6 home runs on the road, but both of these guys a sub 255 on base when they're on the road as well. Tyler Freeman is hitting about a 287 on the road, but other than Therio Estrada, nobody is moving the line, getting on base when they're away from home. So do think that the Diamondbacks go out there, win this game on multiple runs, and I do think that they take it to Austin Gomber. Semi-total at a 9.2. I'm in on the over, and with the Diamondbacks willing to lay up to a -130 on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. It is the San Francisco Giants, and they are going to be playing us the Washington Nationals. Jake Irvin is on the bump for the Nationals. Right now, this game is off the board because it is old to be determined. I'm seeing Kai-Wei Tang, who is supposed to be getting the start for the San Francisco Giants, whether it's he or a bullpen game, because I just don't think that Tang, even if he is going to be pitching in this game, is going to be able to give you a lot of length. I don't think that it's going to be mattering too much here, but that said, whether it's he or the bullpen game, I set the Giants at a -126 on the money line, would be willing to lay up to a -125 there, plus 127 or higher. Looking at the Nationals, and made a total of an 8.7 to where an 8.5 or less. I'm in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under, and not going to go too much in on Mr. Tang here because we don't know if he's going to get the start, but he made 1 start for the team earlier in the season, and he gave up 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings. Not a guy that I necessarily think is some hot prospect or anything like that. Comes in from Taiwan, so a little bit of fun there, but that's it for Jake Irvin. Even though he's not necessarily the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching, I do think that he's going to be able to go out there and give you a relatively presentable performance. 4.89 ERA. Doesn't really hurt himself with a 3 walks per 9 innings, but 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, 6 punch-outs per 9. That is a big giant issue, and he has now given up at least 4 runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, but he does get to go up against the San Francisco Giants team that has been in the bottom 7 in all of baseball in terms of runs per game. Rafael Devers just has not done what the team was asking him to do. As for Mr. Devers, ever since he's come over, he's hitting a .225 with 5 home runs in 43 games. Not ideal to say the least. Jungle Lee is starting to pick it up. He's hitting a .260. Wilmer Flores, he's been able to give you about a .250 with a .320 on base, but just not getting a lot of deep balls out of him. Eloy Ramos, 14 home runs. It feels like he's been stuck there for quite some time. .350 on base. William Adames has been able to give you 18 home runs, and since the beginning of the month of July, he has been able to hit, I believe, 10 of those home runs, so he's been picking it up. Matt Chapman, .340 on base, 16 home runs, but doesn't hit for a lot of average. And then the catcher spot, Tyler Fitzgerald, so many guys hitting at .230 or lower, it really drives you mad. And for the Giants, they are a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA, but that's back when you add the likes of a Tyler Rogers, Alon Camilo Doval in the bullpen. Eric Miller is currently on the injured list, so and those are 3 guys that will give you a sub 315 ERA. Now you're going to be looking a bit more to Spencer Bivens, Carson Seymour, Tristan Beck, these guys that do have above a 4 ERA, though Randy Rodriguez still is very dominant for this team, a sub 2 ERA for the Washington Nationals. This is a bullpen that's currently dead sinking last in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You just really don't have a lot of good options out that Andrew Chafin and Kyle Finnegan got traded, as you've got the likes of Orlando Rebalta, Jackson Rutledge, Jose Ferrer, Eduardo Salazar, so many guys that are posting up over a 5 ERA that it's rough. But for the Nationals, they only average about 4 runs per game at home. This is closer to 4.7 runs per game away from home. James Wood, I don't think has a home run since the All-Star break, but he's still been able to give you about a 360 on base. You've got Nathaniel Lowe, CJ Abrams, and Josh Bell, all between 13 and 15 home runs. Now for Lowe, hitting only about a 220, you need that to pick up. But for Josh Bell, since the beginning of the month of July, he's been able to hit darn near 300, so he's picking it up after a rough start to the season. And then some of the young guys are hitting right around at 250, like Abraham Diallo, Sal Lyle. These guys have been solid along with Robert Hassel, so it does make for an interesting situation here at a 8.5 or less. I'm in on the over 9 or higher to the under. For the Giants, we'll lay up to a minus 125 with them, plus 127 or better. Looking at the Nats, 913, 914 on the card. The Houston Astros are on the road. They're facing off against the New York Yankees, as Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees, and Mr. Hunter Brown is on the bump for the Houston Astros. And the Astros do find themselves as a favorite. You're going to be laying anywhere between minus 113 to a minus 120, and even money to plus 105 is that number on the Yankees, and your total is 8. The over is minus 120, and the under is even, and I'm going to be willing to play the Astros here. I did set them at a minus 124. For Hunter Brown, it's been a little bit of an up and down season for him, but it does feel like Hunter Brown is starting to regain his form after he was a little bit rough coming out of the All-Star break, and he had a few starts going into the All-Star break as well that weren't so savory, but still, I mean, the guy is posting up a 2.47 ERA for the season, supported by a 2.94 fielding dependent, 10.5 strikeouts, a 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's now given up approximately 2 runs over the course of his last 2 starts. That's a total of 12 innings. One of those was on the road against the Boston Red Sox, so I do think that he's got things rocking and rolling again. And for Mr. Cam Schlittler, he's been a really good strikeout artist at the minor league level. He's come up to the big leagues here in 4 starts, and he's already shown that. 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now he has given up 5 walks and 2.3 home runs per 9 innings, so he's showing a lot of volatility in his starts, but a 4.58 ERA, I do think that he's going to go out there, give you a relatively okay performance. But for the Houston Astros, getting back Jeremy Pena, I think is massive, as he's been able to hit well above a 300 for the team, does a really good job in terms of moving the line, and he's done a great job in terms of giving you the power ball as well, despite the fact that he has already missed about 25 games this season. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and then Yunier Diaz, Christian Walker, both of these guys up to 16 home runs this year. You need a little bit more on base out of them. Both of these guys at 301 on base or worse, but Jose Altuve is sitting at 280 with 19 home runs. You've had Victor Carantini step up. He's hitting about a 270. Jake Myers is sitting at 300, and for the Houston Astros, they've got by far the better bullpen in this game, as you've got the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, throw in there Steven Oker, Bennett Sosa, when he's been out there, Sean Dubin is injured once again, Josh Hader, all these guys who've been able to give you an ERA below a 305, and for the New York Yankees, Luke Weaver starting to look a little bit better, but since coming off the injured list, he hasn't necessarily been himself. They do pick up a pair of guys in David Bednar along Camilo Doval, who immediately pooped the Bednar in their first appearance against the Miami Marlins, but should be able to upgrade this bullpen. You've had Fernando Cruz be in and out all season long, but Yuri De Los Santos has actually been a really good long guy, a sub-2 ERA, and then you've had Brent Hedrick and JT Brubaker step up, give you a sub-360 ERA, but for the New York Yankees, obviously this has been a lineup that has been struggling when Aaron Judge has not been out there, as for Judge, 37 home runs, being able to give you a north of a 440 on base. It's so big that he's back out there in the fold for them. Cody Bellinger has been able to give you 20 bombs, hitting at 275. Paul Goldschmidt, since the beginning of the month of June, only about a 300 on base, but he did have a home run in the team's last game, so that should be a little bit encouraging. And then You've got Jazz Chisholm, who's been able to give you 19 bombs, hitting for about a 330 on base. And then you got power out of a few guys like Ben Rice, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe. They're really not hitting for average. All three of these guys hitting below a 230. So for the Houston Astros, I do think that you're going to get a good start out of Hunter Brown. And I do think that they get to Schlittler to get the job done. Semi-total at an 8.2, so I like the over and the Astros on the money line. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Athletics are on the road against the Baltimore Orioles. Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for the Orioles, and JT Ginn and Juice is on the bump for the Athletics. Total on this game in most places is 9.5. I'm seeing a straight 10 out there. On the 10, the under is minus 120, the over is even. On the 9.5, over is minus 120, under is even. With Baltimore, you're going to be getting them between minus 113 to a minus 117. Between even money to minus 105 is that number on the Athletics, and for the A's, I did set them as a mild underdog here of a plus 131, so I'm going to be willing to lay with the Orioles. I recognize that Sugano pitches to way too much contact. He's been getting fewer than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he does a good job of not hurting himself as well. Now, he does give up a lot of contact, so he also gives up quite a few deep balls. He's been allowing 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but only given up about 2.3 walks per 9 innings. Has given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts, so he's been able to round into a little bit of better form there. And then for JT Ginn, it's been a case where he has been a little bit inconsistent as he started out the year in the bullpen. Now he's a starter. 9 strikeouts per 9 innings is solid, but he also gives up too much hard contact with 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now, for the Athletics, just as a staff, this team has been much worse when they've been at home rather than on the road with their pitching. As for the Athletics right now, you've got a bunch that is currently second worst in all of baseball in terms of their bullpen ERA. These guys like Hogan Harris, Justin Sterner, Oswaldo Bido, all posting up above a 4 ERA has been killer. And then you trade away Mason Miller, and for JT Ginn, that's very representative of him too. 5.54 home ERA compared to a 2.82 ERA on the road. So I do think that helps you out a little bit with this total. It's a big reason why I did set my total at 9.6. If we get the 10, I will take a shot on the under. Personally, I would rather take a 10 under rather than a 9.5 over, because with the Baltimore Orioles, you did trade away Lamont Laureano along with Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, so this is not the same lineup that they had towards the beginning part of the season. You have been able to get quite a bit of production out of Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, both of these guys between 13 and 14 home runs. Henderson has been able to hit above a 280 for this unit, and you've been able to get some good production out of Colton Cowser as well when he's been healthy. 9 home runs and less than 200 at-bats, but also hitting for a 215. Jordan Westbrook, he's been able to hit above a 270, 13 home runs at about 250 at-bats, so getting him back is solid, and this is an Orioles bullpen that they themselves are in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area, especially with Felix Bautista being on the injured list. That's rough. You do have Cade Stout now giving you a sub-2 ERA. It's a small sample size, so I'm not going to read too much into that. You got Yunier Cano, Yarmariel Hidalgo, hopefully I said that correctly, Corbin Martin, guys like this, posting up above a 4 ERA, so that's been a little bit of an issue, and you do go up against an Athletics team that they do have guys who are able to mash the ball. As Brent Rooker has been able to give you 23 home runs. He's up to hitting about a 275, and then he's been a little bit cold lately, but Nick Kurtz hitting above a 300, 23 home runs and 273 at-bats, so home run every about 11 to 12 at-bats. He has been amazing. Tyler Soderstrom has been able to give you 21 home runs. Lawrence Butler, not aiming for a lot of average, but he's up to 15 home runs as well. Team traded away Miguel Andujar at the trade deadline, but guys like Gio Urshela and company have been able to do a solid job finding way on base, so it is a spot where I do think that for the Orioles, they do find a way to be able to get to JT Ginn, and I do think that Sugano does just a good enough job of keeping things out in front of him. Also for this Baltimore Orioles team, if you take a look at their home and road splits, very demonstrative in terms of their run scoring, as they've been only scoring about 3.5 runs per game away from home, 5.2 runs per game at home. Did set my total 9.6, so the 10 is my buy point on the under, and I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 131 on this Orioles money line. 917, 918 on the card. It is the Tigers, and they're going to be playing out to the LA Angels. The Professor, Kyle Hendricks, goes for the Halos, and Mr. Tariq Skubal is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit, a massive favorite, anywhere between minus $3 to a minus 330, anywhere between plus 250 to a plus 280 is that number on the Angels. 7.5 is the total, under is minus 120, over is even if you're looking to lay around half with the Detroit Tigers. That is currently a minus 140, and I am willing to go up to a minus 143 with that run line. I just don't have any faith whatsoever in Kyle Hendricks. He's just on the back end of his career. He's been pitching to a little bit too much contact for my liking. It's actually been a little bit better over the last month or so, but much of that has been his performances at home. A 4.59 ERA, only about 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Again, he has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts, actually 4 out of his last 5 starts, but when he goes on the road, that's where the issues really pop up. 5.44 ERA on the road. He has been giving up well over 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, and then for Tariq Skubal, a 2.18 ERA, fielding dependent, that is a 1.95, 1.6 strikeouts, 1.2 walks, per 9 innings, strikeout to walk ratio of 9.5. Now, it's given up 3+ runs in 2 out of his last 4 starts, but now gets to go up against an Angels team that does rank in the bottom 7 in all of baseball with regards to on-base percentage. They have been very much a boom or bust team, as you've got a guy in Taylor Ward who's been really pumping out the deep ball this year. He's up to 26 home runs, but that on-base percentage is right around a 307 with a 230 average. Even Mike Trout, 20 home runs, but he's only getting a 240, albeit 367 on-base percentage. Logan O'Hoppe, very happy about the 18 home runs, not so happy about the 275 on base. Jorge Soler has been a disappointment, 295 on base with 12 home runs. Zach Netto's been solid, 16 home runs, he's hitting a 270, and then Nolan Schudel hits for a 360 with his on base, but Joe Adell hitting for a 293 on base with 5 home runs is not cutting it, and this Angels bullpen is in the bottom 5 in baseball in terms of ERA, especially with now having on the injured list one of your main guys in Hunter Strickland. That's an issue, though. You do now have Kenley Jansen, Brock Burke, who have both been able to give you a sub-3.2 ERA. Carson Fulmer in long relief has not been too bad either, but likes of Connor Brogdon, Ryan Zephyrion, Sam Bachman, all these guys with over a 4.5 ERA is an issue for the Tigers. They've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA since the beginning of the month of June as well, so you do have your issues there, but you do have to like the fact that you've got a guy in Brad Herter who's able to give you multiple innings. He's been able to give you a sub-275 ERA. Will Vest has been reliable with a sub-3 ERA in that bullpen as well. You've had issues with the likes of Chase Lee, Tyler Holton, especially Mr. Tommy Canely. These guys have been posting up well above a 3.85 ERA, but I do think that the Tigers going to get a bit more online with their offense. They're a top 8 team in terms of runs per game with Ryler Green, Spencer Torkelson combining for 50 home runs this season, with Green hitting about a 266. Torkelson more like a 243, but a 330 on base, and then a lot of guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 262, 270. Javi Baez, Cole Keith, Dylan Dingler, Zach McKinstry, they're all there along with Wencio Perez, so I do think that the Tigers do a nice job getting to Kyle Hendricks here. Did set my total at a 7.4, so here at the 7.5, I'm in on the under. And for the Tigers, willing to lay that minus 140 run line. 919, 920 on the card. The Chicago White Sox play host the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bybee is on the bump for the Guardians, and Mr. Aaron Savali goes for the White Sox. White Sox define themselves as pretty sizable underdogs between plus 140 to a plus 150. Minus 156 to a minus 170 is that number on the Guardians, with 8.5 being the total, over and under both at minus 110. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the White Sox. Was willing to take a plus 138 or higher, as Aaron Savali actually began his career with the Cleveland Guardians, so a welcome back situation there. And for Savali, the overall season numbers have not been great. A 3.99 ERA, backed up by a fielding dependent that's more around about a 4.53, 1.3 home runs, 3.2 walks allowed per 9 innings, but he's allowed 1 unearned run in his last 3 starts, and he has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in all but 3 out of his last 14 starts, so he's actually been able to do a nice job on that front. Meanwhile, for Bybee, he's got some pretty big home and road splits. Overall for the season, 4.51 ERA, he is getting about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and then you take a look at what he's been able to do with regards to the home and road splits. It's just a very much night and day difference, as on the road for Mr. Bybee, a 5.50 ERA. On the road, he's giving up just under 2 home runs per 9 innings. At home, closer to about 0.85 home runs per 9 innings with a 3.19 ERA. And for the Cleveland Guardians, this isn't quite the same bullpen that we've seen in past years. I do think that it's going to be relatively rock solid, as you've got Emmanuel Clase currently being out of the fold, which that's been a less than savory situation to say the least, but you do still have likes of Nick Enright, Eric Zabrowski, Kobe Allard, the long guy who've been able to give you a sub-275 ERA. Kate Smith has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA as well, though Hunter Gaddis has really been pooping the bed recently. Matt Festa has been giving you north of a 4.4 ERA, and then for the Chicago White Sox, this team is actually in the upper half of all baseball in terms of their bullpen ERA. Mike Vasil has been a really good long guy for them. Dan Altavia is currently on the injured list. Steven Wilson, they're all below a 3 ERA. You've had some unreliability with some of these guys like Brandon Iser, Grant Taylor, Jordan Leisure posting up above a 4 ERA, but the real issue for the White Sox has been the offense. Bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Lennon Sosa, Miguel Vargas, Luis Robert, and Andrew Benintendi, all between 12 and 14 home runs this season. The only one that's hitting above a 230 is Lennon Sosa. You just have a poo-poo platter of different guys that are hitting below 230. All those guys, Michael A. Taylor, Vinny Capra, Josh Rojas, Joshua Palacios, these guys just have not been able to do a great job there, but I do think that they're going to be able to get to Bybee in this spot. I think that it's going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, so maybe my total in 8.1. Here at the 8.5, I like the under. And for the White Sox, plus 139 or higher, I'm in on that money line. 921, 922 on the card. It is the Royals on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan is on the bump for the Twins. Seth Lugo goes for Kansas City. Kansas City does find themselves anywhere between plus 119 to plus 112 underdogs. Meanwhile, between minus 130 to minus 137, then around Minnesota. 8 is the total. The over is minus 120. The under is even. Seeing a fee straight 8.5. The 8.5 under is between minus 115 to minus 120. Over is between even and minus 105. And did set my total at 7.9. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the under for the Minnesota Twins are just very gutted in terms of their lineup, as you've had Byron Buxton be absolutely incredible for the team. He's been able to pound out 23 plus home runs. He's delivering a 343 on base, and then you've been able to get quite a bit of production out of Royce Lewis since he's come off the injury list. Since coming off the injury list, he's been hitting just below 300. He's been able to give you a little bit of pop, but that said, you just have a lot of guys that they just have not necessarily been performing up to their billing. You've had just a hodgepodge of different guys that are hitting below a 250 for this team. Matt Wallner has been only hitting about a 220, though. He's up to a double-figure amount of homers for this team. Cody Clemens has been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs as well, but not necessarily doing a great job moving the line, getting on base. They traded away Willie Castro, Harrison Bader, Ty France, so they just traded away a whole bunch of guys. So you're relying upon Trevor Larnach, give you a 320 on base with 15 home runs. And for the Twins, they traded away all their good bullpen pieces as well. Like, they had a really good front end of the bullpen with having the likes of Yohan Duran, throwing their Danny Kalum, Louis Varland, Brock and Roll Stewart. All these guys give you a sub 250 ERA. They're all gone. So that means that you're relying upon the likes of Cole Sands, Justin Topa, both above a 4 ERA. Michael Tonkin has not been amazing. So that's a little bit of an issue. And then on the flip side for the Kansas City Royals, many people thought that they were going to sell at the deadline. They actually bought a few pieces at the deadline, and they do have a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Lucas Serfsedge, Carlos Aceves, both posting up a sub 275 ERA. You've been able to get good production out of John Schreiber as well. He's posting up about a 3.6 ERA. Steven Cruz has been having his issues recently, and for the Royals overall, this is a bottom 6 team in terms of runs per game, but Salvador Perez has been able to pick it up. 20 home runs, hitting about a 250, and then Bobby Witt Jr. hitting about a 285, 16 bombs out of him. Vinny Pasquantino's up to about a 260 with his 19 home runs. Not a lot of power outside of that. Miguel Garcia hitting nearly a 300 has been nice with 11 home runs, but you've got the likes of a Drew Waters, 1 home run and hitting at 245. You need a little bit more there. Nick Lofton, John Rave, Jack Caglione. These are young guys that just have not been able to develop for the team. They're all hitting below a 210, and Caglione is on the injured list, and frankly, that doesn't hurt the team whatsoever. But for Seth Lugo, I always have some caution with him because he does pitch to quite a bit of contact, and he has been better when he has been in Kansas City rather than when he has been on the road. But I do think that against a gutted Twins lineup, he can be able to give you a good performance here. 3.06 ERA. Now that is backed up by a 4.47 fielding dependent, as he gets only about 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings and has allowed 1.4 home runs per 9. But I mean, he comes in relatively solid form. 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and I do think that the Royals present a little bit of value here if you can get a plus 118 or higher right now, seeing that right around a plus 120. So looking at that Royals money line, and here at the 8 to 8.5, I'm in on the under. 923, 924 on the card. The Tampa Bay Rays are on the road against the Seattle Mariners. Luis Castillo is on the bump for Seattle, and Mr. Drew Rasmussen is on the bump for the Rays. And the Rays do find themselves as an underdog here. You're going to be getting between plus 110 to a plus 115 there, between minus 125 to a minus 131. That number on Seattle with 7.5 the total. The under is minus 125, and the over is plus 105, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on that over. I did set my total at a 7.6 with Luis Castillo. He's got some very demonstrative home and road splits, as for Luis Castillo, when he has been on the road, he has really been struggling, especially in terms of giving up the deep ball this season. As for Luis Castillo, he is posting up when he is at home a much better ERA that goes down to a 2.29 overall for the season, giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, but that ERA touches a 4 when he is on the road. Meanwhile, for Drew Rasmussen, very rock solid. Less than 2.5 walks per 9 innings, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9, 2.81 ERA, but he has to face off against the Seattle Mariners lineup that doesn't look too fearsome when they're at home. They're only averaging about 3.9 to 4 runs per game because Seattle is one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, but you've got Josh Naylor in the fold now, along with Eugenio Suarez. Suarez up to 36-plus home runs this season. You've had Randy Arozarena really be able to come alive as well. 350 on base with 23 home runs. Jorge Polanco hitting at 255 with 18 bombs. Julio Rodriguez, 21 bombs. He's hitting at 255. I do think that Cole Young moved the line, hitting for about a 325 on base, has been helpful for the team. Obviously, you've got big dumper Cal Raleigh leading the way with 42 home runs at a 355 on base. And on the flip side for the Tampa Bay Rays, they do get back Brandon Lowe, and that helps out the lineup, and that is a big reason why I am on this total over. You could tell that there was a massive difference with / without him in the lineup. He's up to 20 home runs this year, along with Yandy Diaz, and both of these guys hitting above a 270. That takes a little bit less off the plate of Junior Caminero, and that allows him to see some more pitches, as he's been hitting about a 250 with 30 home runs. Jonathan Aranda moves the line. He's sitting for about a 395 on base, and then you've got plenty of stolen bases on this team. Chandler Simpson, 32 stolen bags. He's hitting for nearly a 295. Jake Magnum, he's up to 16 stolen bases. He's hitting at 280 as well. The catcher spot has been a big giant issue for this team, along with the likes of Christopher Morel, Cam Misner hitting below a 220. Taylor Walls has not been amazing as well. But this is a Rays team that is in the top 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. They pick up Griffin Jackson at the deadline, which that doesn't do anything for you. But you've got the likes of Eric Orze, Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, who've all been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. And for the Seattle Mariners, the top guys in this bullpen have been absolutely magnificent, as you've got the likes of Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo. I'll give you a sub 3 ERA. You've even been able to get some good performances of the likes of Jackson Keller, as well as been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. So for the Seattle Mariners, I do think that they do a solid job of being able to get to Drew Rasmussen here, and I do think that revamped offense does just enough to get the job done. Set my money line at a minus 148, like the Mariners, and maybe by total 7.6. I'm also in on the over. 925, 926 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road. They're facing off against the Walker, Texas Rangers. Merrill Kelly is on the bump for the Rangers, and Christopher Sanchez is on the bump for the Phils. The Phillies are anywhere between minus 127 to minus 132 favorites, anywhere between plus 109 to plus 117 is that number on Texas. 7.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110, and I did set Texas as the minus 102 favorite. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them. For Merrill Kelly, he has been steady as they come all season long, as for Merrill Kelly, he enters with a 3.22 ERA, giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9 innings, and his swing and miss stuff has been a little bit better as well, with 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I enjoy what I've been seeing out of him. And then for Christopher Sanchez, he's been brilliant himself. 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, over 9.5 strikeouts, 2.2 walks allowed per 9, 2.40 ERA. He has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in now 6 out of his last 8 starts, so he's been rocking and rolling. But the bullpen performance, it's very much night and day. Now, recognize that the Philadelphia Phillies pick up Yohan Duran to be able to shore up that bullpen, but overall for the season, they do rank 24th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. This is even with having Orion Kerkering posting up a sub-3 ERA. You've been able to get a little bit more performance out of Matt Strahm, who's right around about a 3 ERA. Tanner Banks has been pretty solid as well, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, overall for the season, this has been a top 10 offense in terms of run scoring, but they average nearly a full run per game more at home rather than on the road, and they're very much carried in terms of the deep ball by Kyle Schwarber, who's been able to give you those 40 home runs this season. And then you've got the likes of Nick Castellanos and Bryce Harper being able to help out. Both of these guys hitting a 266. Harper a 370 on base with 17 home runs, 15 bombs for Nick Castellanos. And then you do have plenty of guys that they find a way on base. JT Realmuto's hitting a 267 for the year, but since the beginning of the month of June, hitting well above a 325. Alec Boehm has been at about a 280 for the campaign. Even Armando Sosa has been solid, but he's been banged up. Trey Turner about a 285 batting average with 25 stolen bases. So do like to see that, but again, do have quite a bit of a fall away for a moment. Texas has been one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, but since the beginning of the month of July, you've got a Rangers team that's averaging well above 5 runs per game, as Kyle Higashioka in that time span has been hitting well above a 350. He's been one of the main catalysts for the team. You still have some disappointing numbers from the likes of Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien, Jake Berger, who have all hit between about a 225 to 230, but Garcia's up to 16 home runs. Wyatt Langford has been able to give you 15 bombs. Corey Seager, since the beginning of the month of July, he's been able to pound out more than a 400 on base. They do suffer a bit of a setback with Evan Carter going on the injured list, but his team has been a top 6 unit with regards to bullpen ERA all season long, as you've got the likes of Hobie Milner, the currently injured Chris Martin, Shawn Armstrong, Cole Winn, these guys who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Jacob Latz has been a good long guy with a sub-325 ERA as well, so do think that you get a really good pitching performance out of both of these guys. Semi-total 7.3. I like the under, and for the Rangers, made them the favorite, so I'm going to be willing to take them at plus money on the money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Boston Red Sox are on the road against the Slam Diego Padres, as Nick Pivetta is on the bump for the Pods. Walker Buehler goes for Boston. Boston is a underdog between plus 158 to a plus 165, minus 180 to minus 194 is that number on San Diego, with 8 being the total. Under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and I did set the Red Sox at a plus 150, so getting the plus 160 plus, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. Now for Walker Buehler, it's been a less than tremendous season for him. He's right now rocking an ERA that's above a 5.5. He's been giving up over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, coming off of a relatively good start though, where he gave up 3 runs against the Houston Astros at home, and he has now given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts, so he's been a little bit better with that regard. Still, the 4.2 walks per 9 innings, less than savory, and the Boston Red Sox who have to face off against a guy in Nick Pivetta, who's been very good at home. Overall for the season, 367 road ERA with 1.4 home runs per 9 innings for Pivetta. That goes down to a $1.99 ERA with 0.7 home runs per 9 innings at home, and for the Padres, they are currently leading the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They pick up Mason Miller for that bullpen, which I honestly don't think that he's too much of an upgrade with with the way that he's been pitching this year. He's been posting up nearly a 4 ERA, but you still have so many guys that have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA and who have been reliable time and time again. Robert Suarez actually has not been one of them. He has been blowing quite a few games recently, but then you got likes of David Morgan, Jason Adam, Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada. All these guys give you a sub 265 ERA, and the Padres have needed it. They've been in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., both above a 355 on base. For Machado, 20 home runs, 17 for Tatis Jr. And then Gavin Sheets is chipping in there 15 bombs as well. Luis Rise has been able to about a 290, but you've had a lot of guys just not perform the way that you were hoping for. Jackson Merrill, still a 320 on base, but 8 home runs. You were expecting a little bit more there. Martin Maldonado and the entire catcher spot has been a big, giant issue. They had to trade away Brandon Lockridge. They had to DFA Jason Hayward, so a lot of these guys just have not panned out for them. And for the Boston Red Sox, this is a top 6 lineup in terms of runs per game. Getting back Alex Bregman has been massive for them. As for Mr. Bregman, he's done a good job going out there, give you a 370 on base with 14 home runs. Weiler Abreu, 20 bombs. He's been able to give you about a 320 on base. Trevor Story, 18 home runs, hitting above a 260. And Jarren Duran has been able to about a 264 along Ceddanne Rafaela as well. And this Red Sox team is also in the top 6 in terms of bullpen ERA themselves, with Aroldis Chapman perhaps being the best closer in all baseball this year with a sub 125 ERA. The over 13 strikeouts per 9 innings have been amazing, but it's not just him. You've got the likes of Brendan Bernardino, Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, Garrett Whitlock, all posting up a sub 315 ERA. So I do think that the Padres should be a favorite, but I think that the numbers went too far. Set my money line price at a plus 150 on the Red Sox. So looking at the Red Sox and on the state, I'm on the unders. Have I told 7.7 and wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. The Blue Jays are on the road against the LA Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw is on the bump for the Dodgers. And Max Scherzer goes for Toronto. Toronto is a underdog between plus 128 to a plus 132. Meanwhile, minus 142 to a minus 157. Then around Los Angeles, 9 is the total. Overs between minus 110 to a minus 120. The unders between even and minus 110. And if you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers, you're going to be getting that only at about a plus 130 to a plus 135. I'm going to need at least a plus 136 to take a shot on the Blue Jays on the money line, but I think when it's all said and done, we should be able to get there. Heck, I'm seeing a plus 136 right now, so I am going to be in on the Blue Jays on the money line with Max Scherzer. He hasn't been awful, but he certainly is not the Max Scherzer that we all know and love. He's up to right around about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but carrying a 4.39 ERA, 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. He has allowed at least 3 runs in 3 out of his past 4 starts. And for Clayton Kershaw, he's really down with his swing and miss stuff. About a 380 fielding dependent compared to his 329 ERA. Keeping things out in front of him, allowing less than a home run per 9 innings, but 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is a bit of a problem. The good news is he is supported by a lineup that is averaging 5.75 runs per game at home this season. That is number 1 in all of baseball. And for the Dodgers, you can tell that offense was really struggling without Max Muncy in there. Being able to get him back in the fold, he is going to be able to provide quite a bit for the team. Already had a home run in, I believe it was game number 2 back for the team. Shohei Ohtani continues to be amazing, 380 on base with 39 home runs. And then you've got Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz, both between 18 to 19 home runs apiece, with Paz sitting at 275, Hernandez sitting at 255. Mookie Betts has just had a bad year. About a 235 average with 11 home runs. I know that he's dealt with like illness and what have you, but just not up to standard there. But Will Smith, he's getting jiggy with it with north of a 415 on base. But what has been an issue for the Dodgers is being in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, they do pick up a guy in Brock Stewart who I like. He should be able to help out this bullpen. And then you've had Alex Vesia and Jack Dreyer both post up sub 3 ERAs, but likes of Anthony Banda, you now have Blake trying off the injured list, but he hasn't been great. Kirby Yates and Scott are both injured, but I mean, a lot of guys posting up an ERA above a 3.5, and for the Blue Jays, this has been one of the better bullpens out there in all of baseball. Brandon Little, Braden Fisher, both of these guys a sub 275 ERA. Uriel Rodriguez has been a nice long guy, give you a sub 3 ERA. Even though Chad Green and Jeff Hoffman have not been great, this team has still been able to do a solid job going out there getting the job done. As for the Blue Jays, they are currently in the upper half of all of baseball in terms of bullpen ERA, and now you've got the offense coming along for the ride as well. Although the Blue Jays are averaging more than a full run per game less when they are on the road rather than when they are at home, but you've got a guy in Vlad Guerrero Jr. is able to give you just below a 400 base. He's been able to supply 15 plus home runs. As Sim Barger is up to 16 home runs. He's been hitting well above a 260. They've been dealing with George Springer being on the concussion injured list, and that's been hurting them quite a bit. As for Mr. Springer, 18 plus home runs. He's been able to give you above a 375 on base, but you've also got Bo Bichette, who all of a sudden has been able to find it a bit more for this team. He's up to 16 bombs, hitting at 300 as well, and then a lot of guys like an Ernie Clement, Miles Straw that do a solid job of moving the line. So at a plus 136 or higher, I'm in on that Blue Jays money line, and like the over, semi-total at a 9.4, and that wraps things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to William Boor of Action Action Network, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast during the regular season and into the playoffs as well, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.